Do you find yourself running out of time to accomplish your work? Are you spending time doing things that you're not that good at? There are effective ways to outsource these tasks so you can focus on your business. This is the Virtual Success Show. We bring the inside scoop on outsourcing success for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Maloof and Barbara Turley.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Virtual Success Show. Matt, how's it going?
Going well, Barb, and yourself?
Great, thank you. Another fantastic week as always of, learning virtual success with my teams.
Oh, it's always an interesting week, isn't it?
It's a journey. And look, today's show, I'm actually really excited about today's show because I have one of my favorite people on the planet on the show. Annette Lackovic, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So
favorite people. I love that.
Yes.
You're one of mine too, Barbs.
You do. You light me up a lot, especially on social media. But I really wanted to get you on the show, Annette, because as you and I both know, you basically, your virtual assistant was one of the first that we placed at Virtual Angel Hub, which is when I started the business. And what I just love, and I want to share this story with the listeners, was that, we got this great VA, and I was really excited about this particular person because I thought she was perfect for Annette. And so she started working with Annette, and within, I think it was week 2, maybe week 2 or 3, Annette, an email comes through.
I think it was
Might have been week 1, week 2. An email comes through from Annette to me. There was probably a couple of expletives in it. There was a couple of words in capitals, and I think, as I recall, something like "she's so not worth the money," things like that. So it wasn't going well.
It wasn't a good email.
It wasn't a good email, but you weren't having a good experience. Let's be honest. And this is something a lot of people face in those first few weeks of working with a VA. But the good news is that now you and gorgeous Gemily absolutely adore each other, work really well together, and you've made the relationship really work. So I really wanted to talk to you about, first of all, how you got through those first few weeks and how you went from failure to success, I guess. So maybe to kick things off, just tell us about that first day, the first week when you met.
The hardest bit is most entrepreneurs, we need somebody in our business because it grows, and we tend to put them in at the wrong time. It's when we're busy. And that's what happened with Gem. And I did the fatal mistake, even though I knew that you just can't expect them just to run with the ball straight away. I thought a week would be enough, and it wasn't. And I really wanted her to run with the ball, and just things weren't happening fast enough. And because I had so much on, I did know that I'm the one that needs to train her up. And I think this is the hard bit, is you've got to train the person up whilst you're trying to do your job, and you feel like you're doubling up. But what happened after that first week, and I sent you that email, I'm very, open communicator. So I also said to her, this is not working the way that I want it to. I really need you to work and get these tasks done quicker, get these tasks completed quicker. And she said, don't worry, this is not how slow I like to work either. I like to work much more efficiently. So it was just great for her to confirm that.
I think I wanted to pause there for one sec, because one thing I notice people doing, and I've seen this happen a lot, you're quite direct, and I think a lot of people shy away from the direct conversation because they confuse a direct conversation with being mean. And often I see people wanting their VA to like them and think that they're nice. So they want to sort of, they avoid those direct, and just being honest, being open and honest about what they need to feel supported by their VA.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's always, look, no, a person cannot improve themselves if they don't know what's going on. And it's vice versa. For me, I knew that I had to be more patient, and I just loved your response because you said, please just give it one more week, because I think you knew that it was just in that time of when Gem is about to peak and go into that she understands the business and she can now run with the ball. But I was just in that teething stage. So just when you said that, I went, okay, I'm just going to hang in there. And with her response as well, well, saying, don't worry, I don't want to work like this either. I'd like to work faster. That just reassured me so much that, okay, great, she's open to feedback, and she's wanting to grow as well. So it was just a perfect affair.
Yeah, good. Okay, so then we got in, so you had that conversation. Actually, how was that conversation? Did you feel uncomfortable? Were you feeling icky about it? I mean, you're pretty good at this stuff, but I think some people feel icky about the conversation.
No.
Good.
I didn't. But I did dodge the verbal conversation. I did write it in email.
Oh, okay.
So I did probably what a lot of people do now is they don't pick up the phone. Yeah. So I think that was, I said, let me just write this. And I did write it so it wasn't attackive. And I think that's what's really important is sometimes you can write things in haste, like my email to you. And it's really because I know she's not going to perform at her best if she feels like she's going to lose her job. I know that she's not going to perform any better if she's scared. So I think from memory I wrote it and then just went, right, let me just clean up the, the language a little bit.
Yeah.
Annette, can I ask a question? Was it just the speed at which she was doing things, or was she not doing the right tasks, or what was the actual?
Yeah, it was the speed. And then eventually it was into the tasks. And that was part of me being, her boss in a way, just getting her to understand priorities. It was really just the speed of things, just learning to do things. I just thought that she could run with the ball quicker. And, there's different behaviour styles, and Jem is a perfectionist at heart, and she does like to get things right. And I just had to understand that she doesn't want to do something unless it's 100%. Later on, it was the prioritisation. But then I just knew that was just whenever there's errors that show up, we have to understand as business owners, it's because normally it's a lack of communication. So if we have not, gone through and said, this is the most important thing that gets done, when an email comes through with this, or this is in your tasks, I've gone onto Asana, and that was thanks to Barbara actually introduced me to that as well. But she understands that what's the priority, the highest priority, and then, some of the other things like graphics, that type of stuff, which is, I call it the fun work, gets done later. My success, honestly, with her has been, I think, through two things. One is really forming that relationship with her like she is a proper physical employee. She feels a part of the team. We talk every day. We have fun. I always give her recommendations in what she needs to improve on, but I always, every day comment on something she's done right. Because I know, and this is what I was saying before to you guys, is a person never performs well if they're scared, or if they're nervous, or if they're scared of walking on eggshells that they're going to rub you the wrong way. People work in their genius when they feel loved and when they feel appreciated, and that's when they're happy to contribute as well. So for me, every day I'll always find something that's truthful and to compliment her on, so she feels really good in her position. And then when there's a recommendation, it lands better and she feels safe. So I feel like that was one of the big things that I
agree,
really
and,
wanted to embrace.
I really feel that is so important. And I think an awful lot of people, what I notice is people don't realize actually how pivotal and how important the relationship is that you have together, because all the other stuff you can kind of teach, but if you don't gel, and you don't, and you actually have to invest time in that relationship as well. And the fact that you say you speak to your VA every day, I speak to all of my VAs every day too. There are some people who are too busy for that, of course, but you still have to set up times where you talk, have meetings, and then you also need time to have a little bit of a joke together and a bit of a chit chat,
Yeah, we love the little pictures on Skype. The little the little icons you put in. So sometimes we have the little Michael Jackson dancer, and it's just like fun. You might just smash out a task, and we've both achieved it, and then we just it's so important. And my behaviour style as well as Jem's, we're a good match in that. Like we've got to have a little bit of fun in the day. And there's days when we're doing launches and we don't get to talk much and we're just smashing out a whole heap of tasks. And we just know that at the end of the day, we do the wrap up. But I find with that connection side of it, Barbara, is when having her feel that she's appreciated. I find what I always have with her is there's times we've actually smashed out, and I mean smashed out, the most ridiculous amount of project launches. We've done 3 launches in 2 months. Like, this is what people would probably do in a year.
And can I also mention there, and because I know your business and I also know Jem, your VA, she also did not have experience with product launches, right? So she was not experienced in that area, and for her to rise to that level so quickly, it really is a testament to you as well, because you've taken her there, on that journey, and you haven't expected her to sort of just be like that on day one or to get there by herself. You've taken her on that journey with you. Success.
I think, yeah. With Jem, I actually asked her, I noticed that sometimes she was doing, and this is what Matt was saying before about the priority of tasks. Every now and again, this is when I had to have the conversation with, this was right near the start, she'd start sending some graphics through, and I didn't even ask for it. It might have been my sign-off logo, or it was just like all these different things, and this is the way we can book, and she's making these pages all pretty, and I thought that really wasn't even in the task to do. And then I said to her, what are you really passionate about? And she said, I really love doing graphic design. And I thought, no joke.
Yeah.
So,
question.
So I actually thought, well, whenever I have some graphics to do, if we have the time, I'm going to get her to do that first, to have a go at it, just to help grow her passion and her skill. Because, as my business grows, there's going to be things that we're going to fill different spots. And she's done amazing. She's done all the graphics for all my launches, for the past 3 launches. And what I was saying was, because of that feeling of that connection and feeling that they're part of something, they're part of a team, they're not just a virtual assistant, they're actually a part of something bigger. She worked an extra 3 hours late at night. And we had all this stuff to actually get out, and we had time frames around it. But then it's, how do you repay them as well? So for me, we worked so hard. The next day I gave her a surprise and said, there's no work today and there's no work on Monday. And it's just, how can I reward her for actually putting in that extra time and not complaining, not saying I have to clock off at this time. And I think that's the difference of building a culture within your virtual business as well.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things I'm noticing in you saying that is, and what you mentioned about the fun element earlier, is that sometimes I see people as well. Obviously, we want to get when you're paying for a staff member, you want to get the most out of them. But I see people making the mistake sometimes of sort of treating them like a lemon to be squeezed down to the last drop, because they want to get the most out of the time that they have with this VA or whatever. And I think, it's okay sometimes that for 2 hours you kind of did nothing, you only have a joke on Skype and do a new image, or I don't know, or have a chit chat about the future of the business or whatever, because I do that all the time. And I think that is actually, if I could say, the secret of my success has been to have those downtimes together as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not machines. They're human beings like us. We all need that breather. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that fun, there's scientific proof about the expansion of the mind and the opening of learning and the feeling of security when you do have fun. And if you're not having that connection with your team at the moment, you're actually doing yourself and your business a disservice.
Absolutely. So Matt, I'm sure you've got some insight to bring in here and some questions for Annette. I've been completely monopolizing the time here.
Yeah, we've just been chatting away. Sorry, Matt.
That's all right. I just went and grabbed a coffee and came back, and you guys were still going. It was unbelievable.
Women.
I know, right?
No, I'm so aligned with everything that you're talking about, Nettie, and that's what I actually teach. You've got to treat your virtual assistant like they were sitting in the room with you, like in the desk next to you. And that is, I can't emphasize that point enough. I've got a question though, which is, Knowing what you... sorry, I've got two questions. How long have you and your VA been working together now?
I don't know. How long has it been?
Actually, what, because I think it was probably in the beginning, so it would have been since around March, I'd say March, April for you. So we're probably, what are we in now? We're now in November, so what, I don't know, 8 months or something.
Wow, that's gone fast.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if you look back at
So
that,
how long? 8 months.
that initial part, were your expectations unreasonable? Did your VA promise something that they didn't deliver in the initial phase, that they were going to be more efficient? Or was it just that your expectations were
It
unreasonable?
was my expectation. Well, do you know what, Matt? This is what it was. I've had a virtual assistant before, and she ended up being an entrepreneur herself and growing her own business. So I had to then retrain somebody new, and I comprehended that it's going to take me a month to train her up. I even tell my clients that. But then when it came down to the crunch, and it was a busy time, so I had the pressure on my shoulders, I cracked. It was just I forgot what I knew, and my expectations suddenly just fell away, and just put the pressure on, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's a point. Like when you're onboarding your virtual assistant, it's like any other employee that you're bringing on locally or virtual. You've got to give them time to learn their role, time to learn how to work with you, time to if they are a perfectionist, time to learn how to perfect what it is that they're doing. And when you give them that space and you're clear on your expectation from the start, I think the relationship starts working a lot sooner.
Yeah. And I think, like you're saying, the time to learn the business, as much as to learn to work with me, even today, even this week, it's still having her understand some of the language, because I teach sales. I teach a reverse sale. So I teach how do you get the customer to feel inspired to buy. So it's all in the language. So there was one thing that I got her to tweak on a lead page, and I noticed that just some simple language. How would you like to pay for that? And pay is like the F word for me. It's such a high logical word. And I was like, okay, cool. So she doesn't actually understand that. So which option will suit you best? So I got her to understand some language then. And that's what's important as well, is the time to learn the business, because we're in our businesses so much and we think it's just so easy for someone to grasp, but it's not. It's that whole expectation thing that you're saying, Matt. There was nothing that she came to me saying this is what she can do and let me down. It was me really letting her down with just, expecting her just to pick everything up and run with it.
Annette, actually, how do you feel now when you think about Jem?
I love her. I want
her grow.
here.
Yeah, and you see, because I know I feel this way about my team as well. When you watch them grow and they grow with you and you see them achieve, I mean, it is actually the most uplifting feeling ever. And I know that you feel that way about Jem as well. Watching her grow is part of the joy.
And for her to acknowledge her growth as well. So she's done so much visual marketing for me. And I want her to show her family what she's done. I said, have you shown your family what you've actually created? Before you started with me, this is just something that you've liked to do, but what you've actually done, like you've done a whole marketing campaign.
You didn't actually know. When we first got her, we didn't realize that was a skill set that she was actually hiding. That was a little hobby skill set that she had that you've really developed in her. And it was just by asking the question and allowing her to play in her genius zone, I guess. The other question I want to ask you, because you started out with a part-time, with her part-time, and then you very quickly moved to taking her on full-time. And I want to know your view, because I've got a view on this around, I took full-time staff straight away because I wanted them in my business. What's the difference between having someone part-time and full-time, would you say?
Everything.
It's everything, isn't it? Yeah.
Look, I feel like the reason why everybody that takes part-time first thinks that they don't have enough work to get covered.
Oh, yes, I get that all the time. Can I have 10 hours? I don't have enough work. I go, really?
Or they're working with a tight budget, but then they need to understand, and they'll understand pretty quickly that their time per hour is much more valuable doing the tasks that are going to bring a lot more money and help grow that business. So for me now, having her full time is just invaluable. It's just on so many different levels. But I can depend on her. I can rely on her. She's that support system. She keeps that business going when I can't be there. It's such a big difference from that part-time to full-time. And I understand when people do take that part-time jump, because I've been there twice in the past. And it's then being honest with yourself, saying, really, is this something that I'm doing to maybe, because I teach sales, it would be like, am I really doing this to dodge really growing my business and having more face-to-face conversations or holding more webinars? Or am I just doing this because I'm just penny pinching and really not committed in growing my business to that level? But as soon as you take that jump and back yourself to say, I'm growing my business, it's putting that VA on that you have from part-time to full-time is when you're really showing that commitment to yourself as well and how serious you are in that business growth.
Yeah, because I get asked that one a lot, actually, when is the time to go full-time? And I mean, I've always been of the view, and obviously financially sometimes people can't do it, but, I went full-time straight away from day one of my business with a VA. I mean, I made that decision. In fact, actually, I made the decision not to buy certain online programs and coaching things and all that, because I thought, well, I really need someone to work alongside me to implement stuff. And the interesting thing, and I didn't know that this was going to happen when I first made that decision, but my first VA is Melanel, who Lala, we affectionately call her Lala, and she is now head of operations for the entire Filipino entity for Virtual Angel Hub. Now, I just am so proud of her, because she's gone from being a VA to accidentally ending up in an amazing role that has benefited her and her family massively. The opportunity came along. And really, when I launched Virtual Angel Hub, the only person who could really step into that role quickly was her, because she had worked with me for so long. And I still had to grow her in that role, and I still mentor her in that role. But the reality was that I had someone ready who had been working with me for so long already, and it was the perfect transition. So I didn't have to go through the pain of hiring someone.
Yeah. And I think that goes along with what you're talking about before, is for us being that business owner and seeing them have that growth. I think what's also important is if you're really serious about scaling your business and growing it, it's understanding that these virtual assistants, for that retention, you've done all this work in, and they've done all the work too in learning your business and moving through it. It's, do we actually have a growth path for them? Do we actually see what really, sets them alive, but also show them what's available in the future? Because just like us, they're real people, and it's, I think it's that retention for them to see the vision and find out if what they actually want in the future is aligned, and then we just help them grow into that person like you have with what was her name, Lala?
Yeah, Lala, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, all the team.
Well, and I think a couple of things to add here. I think number one is if you're listening to this podcast and you think you can't afford a virtual assistant, you're going to fail in business, in my opinion, because everyone can afford a virtual assistant.
I'm glad you said it, Matt, because honestly, I hear this all the time, and I go, you afford not to have one. And honestly, if you can't afford one, you need to rethink your business model.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't afford not to.
You can't afford not to. That is the reality. And particularly, when you're setting goals and targets, if you work out your hourly rate and then what you're investing in the person to come and take a lot of these lower value tasks, important but not lower value in what the investment to get them done is, it's just phenomenal. And I hear it day in, day out as well. So I do have an opinion, though, around the difference between part-time and full-time. And then I'll add another one, which is, I think, which is a project-based. I think there's certain tasks that you can just outsource on a project-to-project basis, and doesn't require a full-time virtual assistant to be there on call to do that. I think, and I think one thing you just need to align with is the organizational chart of your business, and looking at, because we've got some roles in our business that are only 25-hour-a-week roles, but we consider for that role 25 hours to be full-time, and that fulfills that part of the business. So I think that you just need to overlay your organizational chart to this decision and understanding what the requirements are for specific roles, because that will help you assist in your decision making of part-time versus full-time. But if this person is your right-hand or left-hand person, your assistant, like they're there to assist you day in, day out, they must be full-time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I do remember you actually talking about the project-based VAs as well, Barb, from the very start. So just hearing Matt say that, again, it's pricked up my ears because it's something that we probably need to, bring into our business.
Well, actually, interestingly, the reason, when I first launched Virtual Angel Hub, it was all about getting, VAs and dedicated staff into businesses. And what I've noticed, and we've started to really build out now, is we're starting to build as part of the hub, we have the experts that you can actually tap into. So, for example, people were trying to get their VAs to build websites for them. And I was kind of saying, look, like they can do a bit of WordPress, but they're not going to be able to build a whole website for you. But we have now a web team that people can tap into on a project basis. We've got video editors, we're bringing in copywriters, because those are the project-y type things that you need. And I guess I'm trying to build a one-stop shop where people can just get all the things they need, and their VA can help to project manage it for them then.
I'd love a podcast on that, please.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to you about that, and Matt and I'll work together.
Fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that.
So Annette.
Oh, you go, Bob.
Yeah, so, Annette, I just firstly want to say, congratulations for getting through that first few weeks, because I remember we chatted and it was stressful for you, but it's not as easy as people think. And so many people give up in that first sort of 6 to 8 weeks. And I call it the critical 6 to 8 weeks, that you've got to dig the heels in and put the work in. And sometimes the workload will double before it halves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, and I was just going to say, if you knowing what you now know, if there was 3 critical points that you could share with the listeners today on that success with your virtual assistant, what would the 3 critical points be?
I think the first one is, look, they really need to be able to connect with that business. So we need to just take that time to help them understand and take them on the journey, so they actually know what your vision is of your business, maybe where you've come from. And for me, one thing that was really important was the way that she communicates with my customers. The second thing is, most critical thing is the connection between myself and her, to make her really feel like she's a part of something, she's a part of the team, she's feeling loved, appreciated, and that makes it more open for feedback. And third thing, I think just the patience. Like, if I could rewind time and say to my old self, even though I knew that, I comprehended it before I started, that it was going to be that teething stage. But when I was in the middle of it, just my patience, I lost focus.
Well, you're only human. I think we all do. Even that happens to me with my teams too. What about the project management tools and the more, like getting your tasks lists right? Would that be something that you've?
Actually, yeah. The accountability. So learning the prioritization, and then using something like Asana, which you've introduced me to. So she actually knows the task, and it's just easy. You can just bang everything out. You're not sort of going back and forth on emails, which get lost, or via Skype. There's just so much backtracking that happens if it's through that. But the accountability side of it, through some type of system, really helps with those tasks and the projects.
Yeah, great. Annette, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I mean,
My pleasure.
Was so excited to get your insight, and also because we haven't really ever had this conversation since those initial days of how did you go from that to success. It was, it's a testament to to the growth of your business as well. And I've seen your business grow since you've taken Jem on. I've seen massive things come out. So.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff without her. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for helping share my message of my journey.
Yeah, thanks, Nettie.
I hope some of you listeners have taken some some great points away about what not to do and what to do.
Yeah, and look, if the listeners, if you do have other people that are trying to get success in this area, then please share the show with them, because we're really committed on this show to not just talking about why you should have, get engaged virtual teams, but how to get success with virtual teams, because that's really the area that both Matt and I really feel is lacking in the market, that nobody's really talking about that. So this is the show.
This is the show.
Right.
Okay, so until next week, Matt, see you next week, and talk to you soon.
Thanks very much. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Virtual Success Show. If you found this show helpful, take a moment to share it with a friend so that we can all grow together. Find out more about the inside scoop on outsourcing success by going to our website, virtualsuccessshow.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.